my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Wednesday video where I answer your questions. Each week, people ask me questions in the comments on the Wednesday video, and the following week, I answer those questions. So if you want a question answered, just put it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer it. The first question comes from Jerry Wilson, who wrote, "Could you show your More Fun comics collection?" Okay, well, I'm going to show you a small piece of my More Fun comics collection. More Fun actually ran many issues, like over 100 issues. I have like a fairly small More Fun collection, maybe about 6 or 7 issues in my collection. But I'm going to show you my slabbed More Fun. So, and these are pretty cool, pretty big keys actually. The first one is More Fun 55, and mine's a low grade. Low grade's better than no grade. So this is More Fun 55, which is the first appearance of Dr. Fate. It's a Bernard Bailey cover too. Bernard Bailey is kind of famous for doing the Spectre, and this is just another Spectre cover. Dr. Fate doesn't appear on the cover until much later, but this is yeah, a pretty cool comic. First appearance of Dr. Fate. So from DC Comics 1940. Next one that I have in my collection is More Fun Comics number 101, which is the first appearance of Superboy. And this is from 1945, and it is, I'm not sure who did the cover. Doesn't say who did the cover, tell you the truth. I have no idea who did the cover. But it says origin and first appearance of Superboy, last Spectre in More Fun, and last appearance of the Spectre until 1966. So it's kind of a double key because it is that last Spectre as well. But it is the first appearance of Superboy. Now, Superboy doesn't appear on the cover of More Fun until issue 104, and that's this one. And he's selling war bonds. And this is Superboy, and yeah. So that's More Fun Comics. And this is the first Superboy cover, and it says Henry Boltonov cover. Is it Henry? Yeah, Henry. Yep, Henry Boltonov cover. So kind of a cool yellow cover with Superboy, and I'll show you the back as well. So this is More Fun Comics from 1945, 104. And that's it. Those are the only slabs I have from More Fun. But More Fun actually had a lot of keys, like Aquaman and Speedy and Green Arrow also appeared in More Fun Comics for the first time. So great series, but hard to find, actually. Hard to get many from. So I have a few others. I actually have Superboy's second appearance as well, which is 102, but it's a raw copy. Next question comes from M. LeBlanc. I just noticed your Fritz the Cat comic on the wall behind you. That one, right there. Do you own other Robert Crumb keys? And could you give a little bit of the history on his career as a comic artist? Were his comics popular when they were first published? And then somebody else actually asked about, I guess that Fritz the Cat got a bit of attention. I picked up a copy of Zap Comics 1 on Heritage this week. Super pumped. So congrats on the Zap Comics 1. This is from AJ Guez. And he got the Zap Comics 1. I know you have the same book. Do you collect any other Robert Crumb or underground comic, underground silver and bronze comics? Yes to that. But let's get into Robert Crumb. And I'll show you some Robert Crumb as I'm getting into discussing Robert Crumb. So Robert Crumb is kind of like one of the key artists for the underground comic movement, which really began in the 60s. Now, Robert Crumb was born in I believe it was 1943, if I remember correctly. And he was, New York artist. He basically, was the founder of the most successful or first successful underground comics publication, which was Zap Comics, which you actually picked up #1 of, which is a big key. And he contributed to all 16 issues of it. Now, Zap Comics actually had many, many, many reprints because it was so popular. But the story of it is a little bit more interesting than that, because when Robert Crumb first got started as an artist, his father basically gave him $40 and said, "Good luck," and he left high school to find a career in comics. And basically what happened was he worked for American Greeting Cards, and he would do art for American Greeting Cards in Cleveland, Ohio. And, he didn't really like doing that. He did that from 1962, and he kind of got dissatisfied with it. And he was kind of like, trying to get into different scenes. And he got into sort of that bohemian scene in the 60s. And he was trying to sell his artwork that he was kind of doing, his little doodles and stuff, to various comic book companies. And one of the companies that actually took an interest in his work was Warren. And I'm a big Warren buff, and I really like Warren. And the cartoonist Harvey Kurtzman took interest in Robert Crumb and basically said, "Hey, we'll publish your work." And so his first actual comic published art is in a magazine called Help. And this is the first appearance of Robert Crumb in comics. This is, I believe, Help #10. And this has Robert Crumb's first published artwork. Now, that was in 1965. But he still did the American Greeting Cards as he was doing that still. But then he started doing like some more publishing. Like Help magazine didn't actually last that long. It only lasted 26 issues. So by the time Harvey Kurtzman hired Robert Crumb, it only lasted like a few more issues. It only lasted another year. So in 1965 to 1966, Robert Crumb was kind of not really in a solid grounds, but what he did was he started creating Fritz the Cat. And then what he would do is he would get it published in an adult magazine called Cavalier. And he did that until eventually he got Fritz the Cat published as a separate book on its own. But what happened was he met an independent publisher, Donahue, who basically said, "Hey, like your work, how will you make a comic for us?" And in February of 1968, he published Zap Comics under the publisher Apex Novelties. And that was that was his first foray into actually self-publishing or publishing in general. And he had problems because of the more risque adult nature of his work, getting retailers to actually even carry his books at all. It wasn't that people didn't love them. I mean, people really liked Robert Crumb's stuff, but nobody wanted to display it. No shop would show it. It's like kind of risque stuff. So what his wife would do is she would go around with a baby carriage filled up with his comics or his things, and they would sell them out of these baby carriages. It was kind of funny. So that was kind of part of his thing, but eventually he got more and more recognized, and he, people started buying his stuff. So Zap Comics became kind of like a major comic book through the late 60s and into the 70s. And issue #2, I'm going to actually show the other issues. This is Zap Comics #2, which is a key for people who collect Robert Crumb, because it's the first appearance of Angel Food McSpade, which is considered to be the most racist character in existence. It's just like overly, hyperly, super sexualized, African tribal girl. It's designed to be that way. It was actually designed, it was supposed to be like so racist that it was anti-racist, which is very much, it explains the kind of thinking that Robert Crumb had. So yeah, so this is Zap Comics number 2. And he published a bunch of things. He was very prolific during the 60s all into the 70s. Very, very prolific. And he did Homegrown Funnies, which has a bunch of his characters in it. You see Angel Food McSpade right there. You know, one of his characters that was very famous was Mr. Natural. And one of the most iconic things was his Keep On Trucking, that was used like for bumper stickers and posters and a whole bunch of things. And Apex Novelties also, you know, this is another book that features Robert Crumb's cover. And this is actually a major key for collectors because it's the first appearance of Mouse in comics. So this is Funny Animals, number 1. And a lot of the time, Robert Crumb would actually feature himself on the cover, and I got a kind of sense of this, and his wife. So this is Robert Crumb doing a self-portrait, and his wife is next to him. And this is Dirty Laundry Comics. So, and then we have Robert Crumb's Best Buy. So yeah, and it's a infinity cover. So another reason why I collect it, because I like infinity covers. You'll notice that it's repeated right there. So yeah, so this is Robert Crumb's Best Buy comics, and then I'll show you some Zap comics from my collection. So there's Zap number 4, Zap number 1. This is not a first print. I was sad to find out that it was not a first print. And then we have Zap Comics 0. This is also a second print. So yeah, so those are some of the Robert Crumb ones. But Robert Crumb really became more and more recognized, not just within the underground market scene, but it was later, like in 1994, that they made a movie about Robert Crumb that really took Robert Crumb from being that more obscure character to being more of a household name. So became very famous at that time, which is much later in his career, but he was kind of a major influence. As I said, that Keep On Trucking thing, Mr. Natural, you know, he had a bunch of characters that were huge iconic characters during the 70s. So yeah, so hope you enjoyed a little bit of taste of Robert Crumb and some of the keys associated with him. And next question comes from Kuru Maze. And if I mispronounce that, or KU Romance, I don't know how you, it's just like a word. If I mispronounce, I'm doing my best. Okay, so do you have any Ken Bald covers / books? Sun Girl, Venus, and Namora. Okay, so I just happen to have all of those. So I will show you my Sun Girl, Namora, and Venus collection. Now, I actually didn't bring my Venus ones, but I did bring my Namora and Sun Girl. My Venus ones, I gotta find. I have no idea where I put them. I think it's in this box below me, but I couldn't quite find it, and like, there's a lot of stuff in there. But I did find my Marvel comics, and which is the first appearance of Namora. So this is Marvel Comics number 82. This is the Ken Bald cover, and it features the first cover appearance and first appearance of Namora. So that's Namora. Very different from the Namora in the movie, but she was a blonde in the original. So yes, this is Namora first appearance. And then we have Namora's, this is another Ken Bald cover with this Sea Beauty Namora number 1. This is her very short-lived series, but very cool series. One that I'd love to have the rest from. I'd only have number 1 though. And then we got Sun Girl. And I guess I'll show this in reverse order. We got Sun Girl number 3. And I really like Ken Bald's style. I actually have a few signed books by Ken Bald as well. So Sun Girl number 3. And it's in a low grade. I think it's missing a centerfold. 2 center wraps. Oh my goodness. So yeah, 2 center wraps missing. But it was affordable. So that's why I picked it up. And I thought the cover really displayed well. So there's that one. And then number 2. I always thought this one was kind of funny because, you know, all these people are like reading about Sun Girl and she looks like she's bored or something on this subway. It's just the funniest cover for me. So this is from 1948, Ken Bald cover as well. Sun Girl number 2. And last but not least is Sun Girl number 1. And this is my signed copy, signed by Ken Bald. So yeah, so this is from 1948, Stanley's story, Ken Bald, cover and art. Now, Ken Bald's actually a pretty interesting artist as well. You know, when he was first starting, because of contractual obligations, he actually had to sign his stuff K. Bruce, which is kind of weird. But he actually has a bunch of cool things going for him. He was born in 1921 and died in 2019. Now, before he died, he came so his very first published work was when he was 14 years old, and it was actually in More Fun number 9. He did like a little thing that they published, like he did a sketch. And they published it in the comic. So that was pretty cool. And that was dated April 1936. Or actually, so he was 16. Actually, maybe it says 14 according to the notes, but he was born in 1920. It's April of 1936. He'd be 15. I think they got the ages wrong. But that was his first published work. His last published work was at the age of 96. So they got him out of like retirement. He had been retired for many years, but they got him out of retirement, and he published a cover for DC where it was a Contest of Champions number 2. And because he did that in 2017, he basically got into the Guinness Book of World Records for the oldest artist to do a cover, to be still creating. And that's kind of a cool thing about this, about Ken Bald. So he got into comics from a very young age, and he also was the oldest published artist. So it's kind of a cool thing about him. Okay, next question. Oh, and also just quickly, a couple cool things about Ken Bald. He's actually famous for doing the Dark Shadows strip. So that was another thing that he did, and Dr. Kildgear. Those are his 2 other things of note. Next question comes from William Barrett. What do you think about the recent comics from the Ultimate Universe in particular? That jump in price so dramatically. Also, can you explain the barcode and how it affects the issue of the book? Okay, so I actually have, I'm going to do the barcode part first, and then I'll explain the ultimate as well. So the barcode, here we got the barcode. I explained this before, but I'll explain it again. So this is Legion of Legionnaires number 16. Okay, so remember number 16. And we look at the barcode, and you'll see, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but it says 01611. Okay? All right, so you're probably wondering, what does all that mean? So 0 just means nothing, but 16 is the issue number. So this is 16th issue. And then the 1 means that it's a first print, and then the other one means that it's a first print, first cover. So if there's like multiple covers, you'll get different numbers at that very last digit. If it's a reprint, it'll also that other number will change. So that's all it means. This means it's a first print, issue number 16. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, next question. Oh, is the Ultimate Universe. So what has happened right now with comics is a couple things. We got, for the most part, a lot of bad writing in comics. And it's not just, it's pretty much across the board that there's just a lot of bad writing. But in order to compensate, a lot of the comic book companies, what they'll do is they will put very sexy covers or fun different covers onto the comics and hope that that will trigger people to buy the books. Now, with the Ultimate series, though, what they did was actually produced a comic that the interior is what people are going for. It is actually not, it's not poorly written for once. They actually created very interesting stories about Spider-Man and an alternate situation where Spider-Man is not getting his powers as a kid, but is getting him as an adult. And what that has done is actually kind of recognized who is reading these books. It's not kids that are reading these books anymore, for the most part. It is older people like us who are reading these books, and they're writing to their audience, which is very interesting. And what's happened is that has driven collectors and readers to actually chase these books. So that has really made these books spike in price. And they have some cool covers too, but it's really about the content. And that they're trying this kind of new style with the Ultimate Universe, where they're really trying a new direction. And I think it's succeeding because the reviews of the Black Panther, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate, is it Fantastic Four or is it X-Men? With the Avengers, I think it is. Yeah. They're having a lot of success where people are interested and engaged in the stories, and that bodes well actually for comics. So hopefully they'll learn from this. Hopefully they'll see it as an opportunity to get people excited about reading the comics again. Now, about the prices, yeah, it could be the case that if they really do get people excited again, you might see these books actually staying up in price if they can keep that momentum that they've created with the few books that have popped out recently. I mean, there really hasn't been that many in the series yet. It's, I think, only at issue 2 or 3. So it's really early on. So it really depends if they can keep the writing to a really high standard, and maybe those books will continue to rise. So I hope that gives some understanding about the Ultimate Universe and about what's happening with the current market. Now, I'm not saying that all comics are bad. There's a lot of really good ones that are, underappreciated and undervalued. And that leads into the next question that was asked from K. Munin. Since the topic of underappreciated, undervalued Golden Age comics came up in this video, which is last week's, are there any modern age comics that you feel are underappreciated and undervalued? As always, thanks for your insight and thanks for answering my questions. So just what I was saying with the Ultimate Universe, I actually think that there's a bunch of well-written stories that are undervalued and really should be looked at as potential items to go after. I mean, I've talked about Crossed, and I've talked about Extinction Parade. Those are some really great stories that I thought were undervalued and underappreciated. Goon is another one that I've talked about many times. But another potential one to look into is anything by Brian K. Vaughan. He's written a lot of really great stuff like Saga. Those have actually gotten some value to them, But Paper Girls was quite good, and so good that they actually tried to do a series for it, but it failed. And it's not, less about the writing of the comic than than how well they translated that writing into the series. It was actually a good comic, and the series wasn't that bad. It just didn't get the traction that it deserved. Another one that I thought was really good, and they actually made a series about it as well, was Super Criminals. Really good series, like just really well done, and I think it's like undervalued, especially considering it was actually optioned and had a great series on Netflix. I recommend you watch the Netflix series, and if you can, pick up the comic because undervalued, totally undervalued. Uh, Ridiculously undervalued for such a great story. Um, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Nice House on the Lake, and you know, Something is Killing the Children. All those ones are pretty great as well. Um, right now, Stray Dogs is underrated, undervalued. I mean, there's certain ones that have been optioned. I think Stray Dogs was optioned, and it's a great story, really well written and well drawn as well. Um, and it was expensive at one time, but now it's become undervalued, in my opinion. So I would recommend picking up that series. So yeah, so those are some of the ones that I would think of. Hope that helps. And if it doesn't help in terms of potential spec potential, it's good reading material. Go with it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Next one is Mass Peanut. I've recently started collecting Archie CGCs. I have a few from the 40s, a few from the 50s, but mostly I'm getting books from the 80s. Do you have any Archies that you can show? Archie CGCs, and can you show your favorites? Okay, I actually brought a ton to show you. So yeah, we'll get right into it. I'm actually going to show you my newest one first, and then I'll get only the rest. I have like a ton actually. I actually have like probably about 60 slabs that are like Archie related. But I'm only going to show you a few, and I'm going to focus mostly on the Golden Age ones. But I am going to show you one modern one that I really like. And this is because one of my favorite characters, actually my favorite female character, is Vampirella. I love Vampirella. I'm a big Vampirella fan. And Archie kind of did a spoof on Vampirella, where they had a Vampironica. Okay, so Vampirella, but Veronica. So we got Veronica being Vampirella, and she's wearing the whole Vampirella style gear. So this is Betty and Veronica number 261, and this is from 2012. I just really like it. It's a fun story, pretty innocent and tame, but just cute that it's like this Vampirella kind of character. So that's one of my favorite. I really like that one actually. It's Dan Parent cover, and that's Betty and Veronica 261. And here's some others. We got Susie, which is an Archie comic. So there's like a lot of these won't be Archie titles, but there'll be various titles, but they're all Archie comics. This is Susie Comics Susie Comics 73 from 1950 Archie publications, and this is Bill Woogan, or Wogan, I don't know, Wogan, maybe Wogan, cover and art, or story and art, and yeah, just a really cool one. I like these like circle ones. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, there's that one. And then we got Jughead number 1. This is the Canadian edition. There's only like 2 or 3 copies of this on the census. It's quite rare. This is like, I have 2 out of the 3 from the census for Jughead. And this is from Bell Features 1950. And this is the first appearance of Moosehead. Yeah. So So that's Jughead. And then we got, I just think this is a really cute cover. This is Pep Comics, number 93 from 1952. And it's a Bob Montana cover. And it says, Archie, am I paying you to kiss Veronica? No, I do this free of charge. It's just a cute cover. I don't know. I really like Archie. Lots of nice little cute covers. That's Pep Comics. And a series that I really like is Ginger. And this is Ginger number 9. I just think she's really cute. That's Ginger right there. She looks really cute. She has always hearts around her. You'll see that in the next one I show. That's Ginger from 1954, number 9. And then Ginger number 5. And just another one where we got the hearts going on. And yeah, just a really cute one. I really like Ginger. So yeah. And then we got Wilbur Comics number 5. And this is the first appearance of Katie Keene. Wilbur really didn't get the love that Archie did. And I always kind of wonder why. It's like, just didn't perform as well. Even though I believe it's earlier than Archie. This is from 1945. But yeah, Wilbur number 5. Then we got Archie number 13, which is actually the very first bikini cover for Archie, which is, or like, where they're wearing swimsuits, I should say, not bikinis, but swimsuits. And it's a cute one. They're judging this beauty contest, and both girls are looking like they're going to kill him if he chooses the wrong girl. So I thought that was kind of cute. And this is Bill Vagoda art. So yeah, it's a really cool one from 1945. And then I got some Katie Keene. I always like Katie Keene. Really cool. This is Katie Keene number 20 from 1955. This is barely Golden Age. This is right at the end of the Golden Age. Again, this is Bill Wagen or Woogan. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Woogan or Wagen. So we'll go with both. That way I cover my bases. So this is Katie Keene number 20. And we got Archie Comics number 53. This is another Bill Vagoda art cover. It's really cute though. Like Archie back then, and back in the day, he was always kind of like the super buck teeth, really goofy looking character. That's kind of funny. All the girls really fell for him though. And got some more Ginger. Ginger number 2. I actually have the full run, but most of them are raw. So this is Archie, Ginger number 2. And it was 10 issues that Ginger ran for. But I always liked it. I always liked these sweater cover style ones. So this is from 1952. Ginger. And I got 2 more to show. We got Susie, number 51. And this is Al Fagley cover. Just a really cool one where she thinks there might have been a gas leak. Yeah, so yeah, basically she blows up her kitchen. And last one, this is sort of the grail for Archie books. This is Bob Montana cover. This is Archie number 50 from 1951. This is a really great one. Nice sweater cover as well. So those are some of my Archie collection. I have a ton of Archie. Actually, I was talking to somebody about it today, where I was saying, oh, I have 2 long boxes filled with Archie books. And as I said, I have about 60 slabs of Archie Archie books, which is a bit much, but hey, I like Archie a lot. So I really got into it later on. Like, it's weird. When I was a kid, I collected Archie, sort of. Like, I would read Archie, but I never thought of it as something you could collect. I always thought it was like a cheap comic. And it was only later that I learned, oh, these books have some value. And then I was like, oh, there was so many cool covers that I learned about later on. And after a while, I just sort of became a bit of an Archie addict. I pick up a lot of these Archie books. So hope you enjoyed those ones. Maybe. Okay, next question comes from James Moss. What is your honest opinion on facsimile comics? Okay, so facsimile comics or reprints are something that I really don't like personally as a collectible. As something you buy to have like the story to read, that's great. I think it's good for exposing people to stories that otherwise they might not be able to find or be able to afford. Like Action Comics 1, a facsimile of it, well, is a couple dollars, whereas whereas the original is a few million. And it makes that book more accessible. Now, in some ways, though, it also undermines the value of those bigger books. I know it sounds weird, but when you have options, it does undermine the value of the bigger ones. But I've actually, the weird thing for me is I see a lot of these facsimiles go for pretty big money, like some of the reprints of Action Comics 1 or some of the reprints of other things can actually command some big money. And the thing that I thought was the funniest, though, was not just a facsimile, but they had like the virtual versions, like of some of these comics. Like they had the virtual version of Darkhawk, the first appearance of Darkhawk, and it was actually more valuable than the physical copy of Darkhawk, which is really crazy to me. So I see that as another version of these facsimiles, that it's not a real thing. It's not the original. And I'm very much about getting that original. I don't really like reprints, though I do have reprints in my collection. I try to find the first printing of it. I'm a bit of a purist that way, which is weird. I'm such a purist about that, but then I'll buy restored books or incomplete books just to have the original in my collection. It's kind of weird. I'm purist on some things, not so pure on other things, I guess. But yeah, so that's my opinion. I personally don't like facsimiles for collectability, but I do appreciate them for allowing access to the stories. So I hope that answers your question. I hope hope I haven't offended anyone with not liking facsimiles, but yeah, it's just where I'm at in my life. So I hope you enjoyed these questions and answers. If you have a question and answer that you need, put it in the comments below. We can ask me anything, and I'll show books from my collection that meet your needs, and I'll do a little research for you if you need. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.